2026 Committee of the Whole meeting of the Exeter Township School Board. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Fike, would you please take roll call?
Julia Schaefer,
Present.
Allison Wilson,
Here.
Dr. Andrew Battler,
Here.
Deborah Bloom,
Present.
Joseph Cook,
Here.
John Fiddler,
Here.
Dr. Ann Herring,
Present.
Jason Mill,
Happy to be here.
Travis Odom,
Also happy to be here.
all present.
Thank you, Mr. Fike. In addition to the 9 board members in attendance, we are joined at the board table by our solicitor, Sharon Montaigne, and members of the school district administration, including Dr. Christy Haller, superintendent, Mrs. Dawn Harris, assistant superintendent, Dr. Josh Hoyt, director of teaching and learning, Mrs. Diane Skornavaki, director of human resources, and Mr. Brian Fike, who serves as our business administrator and board secretary. Just announcements, the Personnel Committee met in executive session on Monday, January 5th, 2026 to discuss personnel. The meeting minutes from last month's board meetings are attached for review. Board reorganization meeting from December 3rd, 2025, Committee of the Whole meeting from December 3rd, 2025, and the board voting meeting from December 16th, 2025. Does anyone have any correction requests to make? There are no amendments to tonight's agenda. And we'll move on to Dr. Hoyt and Dr. Heller for our K-12 academic update presentation.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have our K2 academic update. We're going to be focusing primarily on what we have been doing this year in K2, and then also what our next set of steps are for the course of the year. So if you could go to the first slide, Sheldon. So as we have been starting out, we always like to go and bring it back to our comprehensive plan. As you'll see, the comprehensive plan is for the 24 through the 27 school year. So we're going to be getting very close to starting to talk about our next cycle plan. But for right now, our 3 goals are that we're continuing to focus in on our 3rd grade ELA, our 7th grade math, and of course, our graduation rate. Go to the next slide. In order to do that, we've been using the cycle of improvement. We've talked to the board about the phases that we have been in, where we worked through phase 1, through phase 2, and now we're at phase 3, where we're monitoring the plan and then adjusting the course as we see as needed based on the data. Go to the next slide. And as a result from all of that work, we've developed basically an action plan in both ELA and math, which Dr. Hoyt will talk through with the board with now.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. So when you think about the comprehensive plan and you think about the improvement process, phase 3 really is the heart and the meat of that improvement concept, because it's great to put a plan together, but If you think of the A team, I love it when it plans together. This is where it's absolutely essential, because there's a lot of time where you do all this work over a multi-year period. But as we know in education, the one thing that's definitely constant is that things are always changing. So we constantly have to look at making adjustments as new data comes in, as new staff comes in, and literally as new resources and mandates come in. So what we're really going to talk about is how we've monitored this plan specific to K-2, and then really what are we doing short term and what are we doing long term as we project with regards to the budget, as we project with regards to student data, student achievement, and professional development. So I'm not going to read the bullet points on there because I'm going to go into more depth about that, but you're going to hear tonight about things that we're doing with regards to specific resources. You're going to see some acronyms in there, so I'm going to make sure it's very clear for both you and the community what those acronyms mean. So when you hear me talk about UFLY, UFLY is an English Language Arts resource that stands for the University of Florida Literacy Institute. That is something that Mrs. Bush has spoken to both the board and the community about, but we're going to talk a little bit about what we've been doing and where we're going with it. You're going to hear us talk about some things with regards to the mandate of Act 135, which is related to structured literacy. You're going to hear about how we are building a culture of cyclical data review and data-informed decision-making. You're going to hear about a new initiative we did this year with regards to curriculum grade level representatives. And we're going to talk about, again, our short-term and our long-term professional development to really target specific needs within the district itself. So you can move on, Sheldon. So going a little bit deeper, three different areas here. So cyclical data review. It's no secret that when it comes to education now, we collect a tremendous amount of assessment data on kids to make decisions. And that assessment data can range from academic data to behavior, discipline, attendance. But really what we're going to talk about tonight is with regards to the instructional and achievement and growth data that we collect on students to help to really inform our decision making. Some of the assessments that we are looking with regards to benchmarking, which we give in the fall, the winter, and the spring, which is an Act 135 requirement, which the district decided to do well before Act 135 was put in place, so we were ahead there, is that we use Acadience, and then we also use that within for progress monitoring our students just to see how are they doing in that in-between benchmark. Dreambox is something that we use for math. We use Dreambox currently K-2 for math, where students initially take what's called the launch pad, and then they have basically a growth goal along the way, and that's aligned to the PA math standards. And students have dedicated time daily to work on that, and students also do that outside the classroom. It's a gamified approach to learning mathematics as well as skill and concept based. But we also do a lot of within the school year, within the week with our MTSS teams, which is our multi-tiered system of support, along with time during professional development days, getting together with data teams, which includes the building principal, Mrs. Bush, school psychologists, counselors, special education, regular education teachers, again, to make informed decisions about our students with regards to both math and ELA. And then we also have our reading specialists where we meet to take a look at kids with regards to their progress, whether if they're on level, if they are behind, or if they are achieving above, because it's really important to look at every single child in the district to make sure that they're both growing and achieving. So regardless of where kids are at, we're making decisions based upon those. One of the things that Becky, Dr. Haller, and I were really excited about this year was the creation and work with our K-6 curriculum teams. What we did this year is 4 times a year we've had the opportunity to have an elementary teacher from each grade level and building meet with myself and Mrs. Bush with regards to ELA and math. So there's 3 kindergarten teachers, 3 first, 3 second, and so on, all the way up till 6th grade. And we've 4 times a year for 3 hours, we have been taking a look at the standards. We've been taking a look at instructional practices. We've been identifying gap skills. We've been taking a look at resources and assessment data, and really trying to create a common experience that's equitable for our kids. And what I mean by that is that if you are a child who attends Lorraine in kindergarten and then moves and goes to Jacksonville for first and second, and then moves again and goes to Awatin for 3 and 4, you should have the exact same academic experience as a child who was in one elementary and then funnels in to Rifton. So that is a bulk of what we're doing here to make sure that as kids navigate, it doesn't matter where they went or who they had, so that those experiences and expectations are the same. So, as you've heard me talk about math, one of our primary resources being depreciated investigations. So we're looking at resources, and I'm going to show you one tonight that I'm going to be bringing to the board later this year. So we're starting to do some work to identify gap skills with this resource so that when it's implemented, assuming we get it approved, that there's going to be a very seamless transition for our teachers with that. So it's been a really exciting experience. We've had really I would say collective and collaborative conversations that have been entirely around student achievement and students themselves. A lot of professional learning has occurred. But as far as professional development this year, specifically for K-2, we were very gracious for the board to allow us to bring in, again, the U-Fly trainers to work with our teachers and get that training, which is absolutely essential. It's great to have resources, but if teachers don't get trained on those resources, it's like getting in and driving a sports car without ever having been on the road before. There's a lot of things that can happen. We're also currently in the phase 3 with Developar and also going to be collectively working with the BCIU to really take a look at a large-scale, in-depth analysis of some things with regards to English language arts. There's been some things that you're going to hear about in our presentation the next time we come when we talk about grades 3 and above, some trends statewide and locally with regards to language arts. And we've taken a really honest look at our own data. And, one of the things that I really love that Dr. Haller says is that you're never a prophet in your own land. And being able to have others to come in to take kind of look at that outside view, we're going to be able to work together to really look and identify some things, whether it's key ideas and details, whether it's things related to fiction, nonfiction, writing, whatever that may be. So again, that we can really enhance our student achievement and our student growth on assessments, but just overall their experience so that we're developing lifelong readers and writers within and outside the classroom.
So in regards to our professional development, next month we'll be bringing the district proposed calendar for the 26-27 school year. And one of the areas of focus that we have brought to the board was that ongoing need for time for professional development, especially with the changes at the state level through PZE with the expectation that all districts implement the science of reading. And oftentimes there will be a belief that because people have been trained as teachers, there's an automatic assumption that people should know exactly what to do. And that's not always necessarily the case because there's new research, there's different assessments, there's different programs, and people need time and professional development to work on and to learn this, to be able to deliver the instruction to the students in the best way that we can. And so that professional development time is critical for our teachers to ensure that they are implementing best practice for our students in their classrooms.
And then lastly, under professional development there is that each year we do short-term and long-term planning. So we look at what are needs for professional development over the course of the school year, and then what are needs that we have years out, which is great. But again, when things change, when things are thrown at you, you have to be able to be flexible. So our professional development plan does include those short-term and long-term planning. But one of the things that's really valuable for these half and full days is as our data comes in or as things come to our attention, whether it's through learning walks or classroom observations or just feedback, we can then do very targeted, specific professional development with grade levels or groups of teachers. Last year we did that very specifically with regards to school safety. And we made some changes very close to when the November date was going to be based upon things from the October date and other feedback. So we are always looking at doing something that's very action-oriented and targeted with regards to professional development. Okay, Sheldon, you can go to the next one. So now again, going down even more granular, thinking about the two lenses of ELA and math. K-2 is a very unique experience for language arts for kids. When you think about K-2, that is where kids are learning how to read. And then as they transition into the intermediate grades, then they're starting to read to learn, which basically means is now they have to start comprehending, what they're reading and answering questions based upon the text that they're reading. And as many of us are fully aware, there is no PSSA in kindergarten or first grade or second grade. So you're really depending upon your localized data that you collect with regards to things that we do with STAR and Acadience and putting in resources. However, that third grade PSSA is really that first opportunity to get a lens of where students are at. So that's why for us that we are really honing in on K-2 for both ELA and math to make sure that specific skills are being instructed to mastery and work with students so that they can then help to maintain that transition from learning to read to reading to learn. Because we do have a lot of kids, I saw with my own kids, they could read Brown Bear, what do you see? But if I said, what was that book about? Brown bear, what do you see? They were just kind of repeating the text, but not being able to tell you really what it necessarily was about. And that's why we're, in addition to the structured literacy component, we're also taking a look at that comprehension component as well, so that students start to attain that skill. And we've been doing a lot of work where we are back mapping, if I'm in fourth grade, what does key ideas and details, what do some of those things look like in third grade, in second grade, in first grade, in kindergarten, going all the way back so that we can start to fill in some of those gap skills and then start to build that continuum. You're going to hear Mrs. Bush in the future as well talk about creating commonality and consistency with our ELA programming, and just like moving forward with a math resource hopefully for next year, in 2 years, we're hoping to move forward with a very consistent ELA resource as well that will help to address many of these needs too. So you can go to the next one. And then getting here with math, I'll explain what these numbers are in a second here, but math, the focal points in K-2 are around counting and cardinality, which is learning how to count and understanding our number system, as well as a very important foundational concept in place value, understanding what ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands are, and then moving into a lot of computation of single-digit facts, double-digit facts for both addition and subtraction. Which is the very foundation of our math system for K-12. There is research that supports that kindergarten is one of the most important years in mathematics, and that there is a correlation between mastery of kindergarten math skills and success on a high school Keystone exam. But additionally, for math, there is research that is really showing that a child's reading level is having a tremendous influence and impact on their ability to solve a math problem right now, because it's not just a math problem, it's the ability to decode and comprehend what the math question is asking. So instead of just adding 13 plus 14, now you're getting a little story about Jack and Diane that involves 13 and 14. And if kids are not able to, comprehend and understand what the question is asking, they don't realize they know what to add to that. So reading has a tremendous impact on mathematics. But what this chart here means, Dreambox again is one of the resources we use here for math. So if you look at the 3 columns, those are our grades, kindergarten, first and second. The 0 does not mean that we are scoring 0, that's a timeline. So that means kindergarten kids are coming in, that's the baseline of school. And data as of January 4th, 4/10, what that means is that as of January 4th, they have achieved proficiency on about 40% of the kindergarten math curriculum, which, if you think about kindergarten has a lot of routines that are taught in the beginning of the year. There's just a lot of social, I'll just call them routines, that have to be instructed to kindergartners in the beginning of the year, whether it's about hallway and raising hands and how we sit in a circle and all those things. If you've never been in a kindergarten classroom, it's one of the best things to go into, I'll tell you that right now. So if you think about that, 4/10, they're in a very good position right now. When you take a look at first grade, our first grade data shows 9/10. What does that mean? That means they came in as a collective average, a little bit behind in first grade. And where they're at right now is they're about a third of the way through what should be first grade. And we're roughly about a month over the first third. So we're doing some catch up there. And then for second grade, you see initially they came in at 1 7/10, which means they were about 30% on average below what a second grade math student should be at to start the year. And as of right now, they're currently at what should be the baseline of a second grade student. So the question is, well, that's great. What are you doing? Well, with our math teams right now, what we're taking a look at is some of those specific things with regards to place value and how important place value is a foundation for these concepts, because a lot of kids make mistakes in addition and subtraction of double-digit numbers because they don't understand place value and they just add or subtract the columns and their penmanship is terrible, and or they just don't have fact fluency. So we're doing work with regards to that, but also we are doing a lot of spiral review within our math blocks. So the beginning of the math classes, they are spiraling on either previously learned content or even maybe previously learned grade level content that might be building in. So if I'm going to be learning about addition of a double-digit number plus a double-digit number, perhaps some of my warm-up is around double-digit plus a single-digit, double-digit plus single without regrouping, with regrouping. It really depends. And our teachers do such a phenomenal job of differentiating that instruction really to meet those students' needs. So it's for math, it's been a really rewarding experience, so that when we roll out a new resource for next year, there's going to be a true understanding of what the expectations are at the end of the grade level, how we're assessing our students in that grade level, and then again, using our culture of data review, how can we make systemic changes to continue to monitor progress and enhance our student achievement. So for next steps, thinking again of that short-term and long-term planning there, we have our winter benchmarking coming up for Acadians. So our students will be taking their second assessment in the next week and a half. And then we have a professional development day on January 15th. That we will be, is 15th or 16th? It's one of those 2 days. That's my common sense coming in. But we will be looking at that data on there to make some decisions with regards to our students. We're doing a lot of instructional planning and data review. Additionally, we have professional development days on February 13th and in March that, again, we're going to be taking a look to see where we're at with those interim progress and seeing what our needs are with UFly and what we need to do, and as well as helping to transition some students or transitioning students from their current grade into their next grade with data as well. We're going to be partnering again with that next phase with Developar and the BCIU with regards to the ELA that I mentioned. And then I did bring a sample tonight, which I'm passing around. The math resource that I'll be bringing to the board in a couple months is, if you have heard of it before, is Eureka Squared Math, which is something by Great Minds. Eureka Squared is a math resource that I'm very familiar with. I've had the teachers look at this with our teacher meetings. They've been very happy with it. And it's a resource that when I worked for the IU, I supported a number of districts that use this and got great feedback. One of my favorite aspects about Eureka Squared is that it is very helpful for parents. Being a math person, I get a lot of random texts in the school district with screenshots of math problems saying, can you help with this? And from a lot of friends as well. And I get it, I understand it. So with this, you're going to find, and for the parents, and we're going to do a lot of parent outreach and parental support with this, but it is a very, very helpful resource for parents in the school community. And it has both, you're going to see it has workbooks, one that stays in school and one that goes home. So students will get opportunities for practice at home for math. This is a resource that's K-6. So then that would put us in a position where we have something that is common and consistent K-6, and then when they transition into the junior high, we then have our big ideas ADA Math, it's called, resource for 7th through high school. So instead of having resource after resource after resource after resource that we've had in the past, where we've had 4 or 5 different transitions with resources, now we have 2 that are aligned to the standards and that are assessing kids based upon the Pennsylvania content and that not the National Common Core. So.
Can you just share what grade level this is for?
So that one, I think I grabbed the 5th grade one. I have samples for each one. I think that's a 5th grade one. So and that's just one module. There's 6 modules in a grade level. So that I believe that's 5th grade. Yeah, so that's 5th grade and that's the first module. So a teacher would get 6 of those and then the students would get 12 workbooks, one workbook for each module and 1 homework book for each module. And then you're going to hear me talk a lot about that when I actually do the formal presentation of the resource, but we have professional development for the teachers, manipulatives, and like I said, I am extremely familiar with this resource. I assisted Boyertown, Wyomissing, some districts outside of Berks County, Hamburg, when I worked at the IU with this, and they are all very satisfied with it. And have seen some really remarkable increases in student achievement and growth with regards to the resource. So, but again, y'all, I will have a much more formal presentation on this later on. I just wanted to let you know we were going for long term with it. And Mrs. Bush, in the future too, will do a very similar thing with regards to ELA as well, because for next year we are looking at for grades 5 and 6 in ELA, introducing the ELA version of Great Minds, which is also a very cohesive resource that's going to also do some wonderful things for our kids if we're able to move forward with it as well for reading and writing. Any questions?
Dr. Hoyt, yeah, I have a question. As we talk about student achievement, as we continue to have these conversations, one of the things that always strikes me that maybe we don't discuss enough of is our ESL population. And from my understanding, the ESL population continues to grow in this region. Is that a correct assessment?
Yeah, that's a local, state, and national growth across. It's grown for us. It's grown since I've started here in May of 2023. I believe it's grown. It's doubled, if not tripled, the population. Yes.
And so, and the reason I bring that up, I think that's very important. At least in my opinion, when we look at achievement data, I think there's when you look at assessment data or test scores, it maybe paints one side of a picture, but I do think that I believe with ESL students, there's what is it, a WIDA? WIDA.
Yep.
Okay, WIDA test. Now, obviously, I think that's K through 12, but I mean, as we're talking, especially in our younger grades here in K through 2, I think seeing some of that data, even in our ESL population, might be beneficial to really get a full picture of achievement that's even happening at some of our subgroups, especially the ESL population and things like that. So that was my opinion, but I don't know if that is something that. Obviously, you're the education major here. Is that honing in on some of those areas like ESL and some other groups? Would that give us a better overall student achievement picture, where we're not just looking at PSSA scores and saying it's either at or below or above, where it's kind of holding into those subgroups of the student population?
Yeah, so we do have a number of subgroups, and if you recall, 2 years ago when the high school was put into targeted school improvement, they were put in there because one of their subgroups was identified as not meeting the indicators, and just for the school board and the community, when you have a subgroup. When it hits a certain end count, that subgroup is held to the same standard as your all students. So that's why a number of districts and schools, I hate to say the word lucky, but we do not have any schools who are in anything called TSI, ATSI, or CSI, which is basically being targeted for school improvement, where there are a number of schools in Berks County that have been because of subgroups. But I can tell you, we do look at our subgroups. We look at ESL. We look at the different races because those are also can come up as subgroups based off the N count. We look at special education. We look at gifted. We look at a number of different ones. And again, because they're all data points that we take a look at and try to see how are they doing with regards to achievement growth, but also how are they doing with regards to our localized assessments, things like Acadience, the CDT, and a new one coming in, Firefly, that we're going to use. So they can certainly paint a picture for you because it helps you then to look at things and say, is that something that is truly systemic to that subgroup? Is that a resource issue, a curriculum issue? Mrs. Bush has done an unbelievable job. She oversees our ESL programming, has done absolutely just a phenomenal job of helping to put a framework together for that, work with the teachers, get resources. We do receive Title III funding for next year for that. That funding is in danger of going away the year after, but we do receive roughly around between $17,000 and $18,000 a year that we do use for supplemental resources for our ESL population.
Can I just add to that? Because we recognized that the ESL population was increasing, one of the first things that we did was we went through a needs assessment with the IU and had them look at our programming for ESL to ensure that we were in fact doing the right and best things for that particular population, because there had been such a high number of an influx of students coming in with ESL needs, and we continue that relationship with the IU to ensure that our teachers are getting appropriate and proper professional development, so that way we are constantly reevaluating how we are best meeting student needs, and not just the student needs, but also the parent needs with communication to make sure that they have an understanding of what's happening in our schools.
Josh, can you go back to the previous slide? I don't remember seeing a similar graded assessment or graded progress for the reading. Where you'd go K, and you sign that a number, 1, you sign that. Is there a reason why?
The reason why is because Dreambox is something where they take that initial launch pad in the very beginning of the year, and then they work towards that growth goal. And as I mentioned, the students are taking their next set of reading benchmarks next week. So the data that you would have had was from the early beginning of the year, and we wouldn't have anything to show that an increase from the baseline to the current. So, no, I was saying for oh my gosh, for Acadience data though is what I was saying. Is that we gave a fall Acadience in I want to say mid-October. So you want to try to get a couple weeks of instruction in for the school year to make sure that it's not necessarily the quote unquote summer slide versus just helping to fire those synapses in the brain. To make some connections, and then you give that first fall benchmark. But it was just a timing piece. If we would have had the winter benchmark prior to this meeting, we would have shared that.
But
Can you be sure?
Just the Acadience data is also misleading because the fall benchmark assessments are not the same as the winter benchmarking assessments. So there are some assessments that that we are not going to give in the winter, and then we definitely don't give them in the spring. So we test different things. So you're not necessarily going to see growth because you're going to also be testing different things. Whereas Dreambox is it's more showing the growth on a particular progression, but that's not necessarily the way that Acadience works.
Well, then in that case, how do we know how well our K through 2 kids are doing with reading?
Well, Acadience has so in kindergarten they might test letter recognition, but they're not going to test they might not test all the letters. So they're constantly reevaluating it, and then we're going to test word recognition. And for word recognition, it's not just the words they can read, it's also how many they can read in a minute. It's the reading is much more complicated, and it's given on a one-to-one basis with students. If you'd like, you can come in and see it being done, and we can certainly have a reading specialist show you how we do it with students. I think that would be helpful for you to understand. But again, even in second grade, it starts out with kids reading words, but then it eventually graduates to oral reading fluency, where kids are reading, 2 or 3 passages, and then we see how quickly they can read it, how accurately that they're reading it. Are they constantly missing certain words? As they go through the course of the year, the passages become more somewhat sophisticated with the words that they're using. They're using multisyllabic words instead of just using sight words. So it's, again, it's still the same assessment, but you're now comparing different things. So that's why it's so critically important with the training and with reading specialists, because they look at every single one of those books and every subset of tests to evaluate how students are doing, to develop a plan to help them meet whatever goals that they have with the classroom teacher. So not that we don't do that in math, but it's more intense in reading, because reading does not come naturally. Reading is very difficult for kids, and especially in that K1 and 2. And across the county, we're seeing a trend with our kindergarten students where they're not going to preschool because parents may not be able to afford it. They're not going to preschool. We have a lot of students that are coming in that are not potty trained. They don't know how to hold even a crayon to color. And so there is a lot of individual work that is being done with our students daily by our reading specialists to make sure that our students even have basic skills that they were coming in with prior to even COVID.
This is going to be an obvious question. And first of all, I'd love to take you up on that and observe this. I think it would be helpful. When the reading specialists and the teachers and others are assessing students, are the students reading out loud, or are they reading to themselves and then repeating back to the assessor?
No, they're reading out loud.
Okay.
And the person who's assessing, the reading specialist, is marking how the student is doing, and that's why it's very individualized. Whereas in this, the students are on a computer essentially taking an online assessment. But this is all done, this is an oral test that's being done.
So every student is assessed this
K-2,
way?
yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yep. Part of the requirement for Act 135 is it's called to provide what's known as a universal screener, which means you are assessing everyone. And that is not the only data where they're collecting with students. If students aren't meeting certain progress, then we provide interventions, and we use things like Read Naturally as another one, and then we'll collect data on that, make decisions. So it's you want multiple criteria when you're taking a look at student data, especially since we have 2 schools who are Title I schools, and we use those funds for targeted reading support. So there's a lot of academic data, K-4, but specifically for K-2 that we're collecting for reading.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hort. All right, we're in, let's see, public comments. We don't have anyone signed up on current agenda items, so we'll move on to committees. Mr. Fiddler, can you present for education, please?
Certainly. Item A, field trips, is for information only. There'll be no vote on that. Are there any questions about those 3 items? Hearing none. Item B is field trips beyond the 60-mile radius. There are 2 there, and we will be moving this over to the voting meeting. Questions? Item C is an early graduation request. Pretty standard. Any questions? And item D, settlement agreement. It is recommended that the Board of School Directors approve a settlement agreement and release between the parent individually on their own behalf and on behalf of their minor child, student with a number, as proposed, and further authorizes the board president and board secretary to execute the settlement agreement and release on behalf of the district. Pretty standard as well.
Yep, it's a renewal for a specific student.
I'm sorry?
My own. It's a renewal for a specific student.
Oh, it's a renewal. Okay, good, thank you. So we will be moving items B, C, and D over for the voting meeting. And that's the end of my report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fiddler. We don't have anything for Finance and Audit Committee, correct? Okay, so on to Facilities and Transportation Committee with Dr. Battler.
Thank you, Ms. Schaefer. It is recommended the Board of School Directors discuss the replacement of the senior high school elevator.
Okay. What's that? So we're working on getting the final numbers of the elevator, what it'll cost. And what I'm finding is the increase in cost for construction of elevators is not as much as what I thought it would be compared to everything else. So I think we're going to be somewhere, I'm guessing around 1.5 to 1.6 instead of the closer to 2. But in the meantime, the state came out with a public school facility improvement grant program. It's $100 million, which we have to apply by March 13th. The elevator would qualify under that. We have to have at least 25% of our own money as a match. We were originally looking at this elevator out of our bond project. So we are going to apply for this grant to see if we can't get maybe 75% of the funding for that, and that would free up the bond money for other things. As you remember, the bond money that's left there has been sitting since December 2023. We have to have that committed or started to spend by December 2026 and completely spent by December 2028. So part of the grant applications, the board has to approve resolutions approving the application. They also have to approve a commitment for funding or the matching portion. I plan to have something for the voting meeting for resolution for this project and the matching portion for the voting meeting. Chrissy and I met today. There might be one or two other projects that we might qualify for to also apply for under this grant program. It's a minimum of $500,000, a maximum of $5 million, except for defibrillators can be down to the thousands. So Chrissy and I are going to work on some other projects that might qualify, but we do know the elevator ADA accessibility does qualify. Any questions?
Mr. Fike, I have a question. With the elevator, with the projected cost that you came up with, the 1.5, 1.6 million, now are we using Quandel for this? Has that been
Yep.
decided?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a reason that we are using Quandel? Is that going to be on a GISA?
It has to be under GISA, or engineering costs has to be done ahead of time. And they had
Okay.
already started the engineering under the original project, but we pushed that off because we weren't sure
Okay.
if we're going to have overruns on the original 28.3 million.
Does it apply to the original GISA that we had with them?
This
or
would be an amendment to the
an
original.
amendment to the
Right.
original? Okay, all right.
Right. And
Thank
this
you.
would be the last amendment, because I think we're allowed up to 5 years for amendments.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
If I could just add to that, the reason for the costs, the high cost of the elevator is because the elevator actually has to be moved. The current elevator can no longer be serviced. It's very small. If you've ever been in that high school elevator, you're not able to basically put like a hospital gurney in there. So now with replacing it, it has to fall under ADA compliance. And that means that it has to be big enough to be able to have that personnel in there, which means that the elevator where it is currently located cannot be replaced, so it actually has to be moved. So we have to take out a stairwell in order for us to put the elevator in. So the elevator can no longer even be, it's really not even serviceable in its current state. And once you decide to replace something, you have to bring it up to ADA compliance. So again, I know a lot of people are, wondering why the high cost of the replacement of this elevator, and that's, very fair and reasonable question, and it's because it has to be moved in order to meet ADA compliance.
Right. And over the Christmas break, we actually had several demolition contractors in there to look. We took out the ceiling in the basement because they were worried about beams and girders and what had to be moved for where the stairwell is that we're looking to put the elevator in. If you remember, we also looked at possibly putting an elevator in the outside, but that was almost double the cost because we'd be taking out classrooms and have to build hallways, and the best location was taking out the, is it H stairwell? I'm trying to think what the stairwell is, but it's the one right outside of the gym that goes from the basement all the way up to the upper floors and hits every floor we need it to hit.
I apologize if you said this, but what was the, do we have an estimated timeline of when everything is starting and how long it will take and
Well,
completion?
the board, we should have the final numbers for the cow in February. And if we have the final numbers, the board wants to move forward and votes on it in the February, we'd be doing all the demolition over the summer, finishing up on weekends in the fall, but all the loud noise and everything will be done during the summer.
So
Maybe get it done by September.
So there may be a period of time where there's no elevator in the building?
Well, we have the
workable elevator?
existing, knock on wood, but last time we had a repair, we had to have parts made because they don't make them anymore, fabricated, so. Yeah,
You're saying the other elevator?
works most of the time.
Okay. Which is the elevator that we see on fire
It's
alerts
the
at
one
Berks
that
County
goes-
That's the
occasionally
one
where
we need
people
to
get
replace.
stuck?
That's the one that
Yes.
we
Okay.
see,
That's the
our
one.
people get stuck in, we
Yeah.
have to get out
And-
there.
yeah.
This really paints a very fun picture of our elevator situation at the high
As a parent
school.
who had a child stuck in there for an hour, I can tell you that it is a real thing.
Yeah.
So
So I
the
would-
elevator needs to be replaced.
It definitely sounds like the 1.5 million is
Yeah.
probably a small price to pay for the safety and security of getting this done.
As Dr. Holler said, we can put a gurney in there, but you can't put a person in the front and back of it, which you're required to at least have the people with the gurney, So, yeah.
Mr. Fike,
Yes.
you referred to the bond money that we have
Correct.
to spend by next year, by the end of next year?
Correct.
The end of this year.
End of this year.
Is that
But
part
we have to start, that was we borrowed two different issues, a small issue which was under 15 and a large issue over 15. We spent the large issue first, which is the 2024, January 24, we borrowed 15.8 or something like that. We spent that first so we wouldn't have to worry about arbitrage and have to give money back to the IRS because interest rates we were earning was higher than what we're paying the bondholders. The small issue, you don't have to worry about that, but you have to start spending it within 3 years and completely spend it within 5 years.
Okay,
And that was December of 2023, we borrowed the small issue.
okay.
Right, so that's December of this year.
Okay, my question is simply, is that money parked somewhere earning interest?
Yes.
Okay, do you know what percentage right now?
Well, I think last month was around 4.1,
Oh.
somewhere around there.
Okay,
No.
good, thank you.
Well, it's been long-term investments, but yeah, it's what used to be up to almost 4.8, so which is it's going down, but it's a lot better than 5 years ago. We were at 0.1. Right. Yep.
That's all for my committee. Nothing needs to be moved.
So just to confirm, Mr. Fike, this will be again on the cow in February and then
Right.
not on the voting meeting in January, but in February.
No, I will have a resolution of the board
Resolution, okay.
supporting, actually have sample resolutions from the grant application, but it's basically saying the board is fully behind the application and authorizes the superintendent business
Okay.
manager to submit the application.
January
And then
20th,
there's
okay.
also be a, what was it called? A matching fund commitment. Basically, you're going to use the bond money for the matching funds. So there'll be a matching fund commitment too to be voted on.
So we'll see those on the committee for
On the voting meeting for January. Right.
20th.
Only, we could probably do that in February, but I don't like weather and I'd rather get done before the application deadline. Yep.
The deadline is March 13th, so, and it only
So
just
have it
came,
complete,
and we
yeah.
only just received it, so it is a bit of a time crunch.
Right.
All right, so on to personnel with Dr. Herring.
Thank you. At our next meeting, we'll be looking at approving resignations of support staff, appointments of support staff and certificated substitutes, transfers of certificated staff, change of status of administrative staff, supportive staff, extracurricular staff, additional assignments of certificated staff, and leaves of absence.
I just have one question for Mrs. Skornovaki. I see here that we are transferring the newly hired Jacksonville nurse to the senior high school.
Yes,
Do we have a position posted for Jacksonville now?
We
or
do.
Okay, we do? Okay,
it was posted, and we have conducted our interviews, so that will
Okay.
be coming.
perfect.
There was the person that is moving from Jacksonville to the high school originally applied for the high school position, accepted the Jacksonville position, but then the high school position became open again. So she requested the transfer and we granted that. But we're lucky enough to already have found someone who is willing to accept the Jacksonville.
Awesome.
Okay, if there are no other questions, we'll be moving items A through F to the voting meeting.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Herring. Policy Committee, Mr. Mill.
Thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. We have policy number 807 for first reading. It is opening exercises, moment of silence, flag displays, and the amended text that was added to the policy has to do with the inclusion of the POW MIA flag. Mrs. Harris, would you like to add anything to that?
No, you just did my part. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anytime. Any discussion from the board on this?
I'm just going to preface this with saying that I'm in full support of our veterans, that my father was a Vietnam veteran and both of my grandfathers were World War II veterans. But I am concerned with setting this precedent of changing our policy for this. Our solicitor shared last time that her concerns about us changing this, and I'm going to put my vote towards following her recommendation of not changing this policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. Along those lines, Mrs. Montaigne, is there any existing PA case law where a flag display has been challenged to a situation similar to this, where a flag has been amended maybe to a policy, and then there's been a group that's actually challenged it in court?
There have been flag.
I've seen salute challenges, but I have not seen flag display
There
challenges.
have been flag display challenges. Now,
Okay.
that's not necessarily what I'm thinking of are municipal, so they have different rules.
Yeah.
And I think it was before they added the provisions in the municipal code to specifically identify
Okay.
POW flags. And so that was before that, and the challenges were, I think it was LGBTQ plus flags that certain parties wanted flown and
Sure.
other parties did not want it flown.
Sure.
And there was some court challenges on that.
Okay.
So,
If-
the litigation is possible.
Okay. I would ask if you are able to find any existing case law where it's been challenged in public schools, if you are able to bring that to the meeting,
I'd be happy
the
to.
voting meeting, just to have that information, that would be helpful. Thank you.
I also am hopeful that it is in the legislation right now, that it would be approved, and then I would, be happy to follow it once it was, approved.
I was just going to say the same thing. I agree with Mrs. Wilson in that not only did our lawyers say something, but as well, the administration made a comment about being uncomfortable with doing that. And I am in hope that legislation moves forward with it where it is a mandated move, but I haven't decided yet which way I lean. I have, I guess, a couple of more weeks, but if we do get more information, I would like to see that.
I'd really be interested, like, how long, do we have any idea how long it takes them, you know, in moving along the process?
No, I could tell you, yeah, it is, yeah, an eternity. Senate Bill 835, it was put into the Education Committee, referred to the Education Committee on June 9th, 2025. So it's been sitting in there until they get to it. So, yeah.
As far as our policies go through, as you know, 2 readings. So it'll go through readings for this first and second reading this month and then next month. So you have that time as well to consider it.
Do we have any concerns with possibly just, I know we had talked about putting a flag possibly in the gymnasium at the high school, like as a good faith gesture, if this is something that we're not all in agreement to do as far as changing our policy, can we do something like that without having to have a policy?
Yes, you don't run the same risks when you have a display inside one of your own buildings.
Any other discussion? We'll now move on to public comment. We do have 3 speakers signed up. We will be conducting public comment in accordance with Board Policy Number 903, which limits public comment to a total of 30 cumulative minutes, inclusive of both opening and closing public comment periods. There are 3 speakers signed up per policy. Each individual shall be limited to 4 minutes. A timer will be displayed on the screen behind me, and you will hear an audible tone when 30 seconds remain. In the interest and fairness to all speakers, please conclude your remarks promptly when your time has expired.
Yep. Okay. I want to add in there, the board has asked me to make a clarifying statement for the public. Request to have the board refuse, and I don't know that that will be the case this evening, but if it is, request to have the board refuse to allow an individual to resign is not something that the board has the authority to do. The board does not have the power or authority to reject an employee's resignation. It would be akin to forced employment. The purpose of the board's acceptance of a resignation is really for administrative clarity, where the employer acknowledges the ending of an employment relationship with an employee. It also helps for certain types of employees, categories of employees, to provide clarity on when things like job postings or other hiring procedures can commence. So just letting everybody know that.
Thank you, Mrs. Montaigne. Okay, our first speaker is recognized, Ellie Metz.
I've never done this before.
Yep, just come to the podium.
You're fine. That's okay. Come on up to the mic. Yep. Come.
Okay.
Come on up to the mic.
Yep, you're good.
And you might just need to pull it down a little closer to you, and it is on.
Yep.
There you go. There you go.
Mrs. Metz, could you please state your full name and your address?
Elizabeth Metz Fry, 74 Rockhaven in Reading. Okay, that's it. Okay, I'm only up here to support Adrian Rosa. He is a really good friend of mine, as well as a huge influencer amongst the community. And when I heard about his forced resignation, I was really surprised and shocked. We were able to actually get about 500 signatures from the community to stand by him and demand more answers. And as much as you guys say that you don't speak on a personal level, I think that I think we owe it to him as a community to investigate to see what really happened. I do have a couple questions as to why. Like, is there a social media policy stating why he was let go due to a photo that was posted when the photo wasn't really, inappropriate or anything? Yeah, so you guys are staring at me, and I'm like really confused. So I just want to know what you guys have thought. Like, what's your response?
So during public comment, we really don't interject. We kind of let you speak, and then
Yeah.
if you do have questions for us, we can write them down.
Okay, and then you answer
and
at the
then we can follow up with a response if needed.
Okay. All right. So I would just want to know, basically, do you have a policy on social media? Why would you remove somebody if you don't have that information? can you revisit this and investigate? And even though the season's almost over, like even if you were to reinstate him or he were to want to come back or whatnot, there's only 4 weeks left of the wrestling season. It's more so the fact that you were able to release somebody so quickly without really like a warning. His daughter looks up to him, his son, who are both avid wrestlers. It's just really, the whole situation is really, really sad. And also, I don't know if I don't know if the board knows this, but the athletic department approved, because I'm on the terms of speaking on social media, there is a video on YouTube on where the athletic department allowed for illegal betting at the high school basketball. There was a basketball tournament or whatnot of some sort. And there was illegal betting, and it's on YouTube. And at the one video, at the 3-minute mark, you hear the person that's doing the video saying, "This is why I betted on him. This is why I put my money on that." And it's disturbing to see that is in our community, because that's if you see the type of people there was heavy security. There was pat downs to make sure there's no weapons. I'm not sure if you guys are all aware of that, but I'm more than happy to share the YouTube video that I found. I'm not in betting or anything like that. This is just something that I came across and I thought was very disturbing that the athletic department allowed this in the high school. Okay, that's it, I'm done. Do I sit down?
Yep. If no,
okay.
Thank you so much for your comments. Could you please state your full name and address, please?
Leah Gore, 43 Old Friedensburg. I'm here honestly because my son is in wrestling, is a wrestling program. He's down there now. When I saw it on social media, I thought the worst. Like, the only way that they could get rid of this guy, which is like the best one out there, like it made no sense. And I was like, oh my God, a girl must have accused him of something. Like, that had to be it, because there's no other way this would happen. And when I found out what happened, I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I couldn't even believe that someone would let go over something like that. It made no sense to me as a person, as a parent. And if so, if he did do something so minor that really honestly makes no sense that he should get in trouble for, why wouldn't you give someone a second chance? Why wouldn't you tell him that he did something that, I don't think we should be doing this again, don't post pictures that the child wanted you to post and the parents approved of? I would be blown away not even understanding what I did wrong, first of all, but at least tell the guy that he did something that the school doesn't approve of, and then give him another chance. You don't just let somebody go that lives for this. His entire life is wrestling. Like, you're taking away his life, his passion, and you're taking away a coach that gives absolutely everything to these children. These children deserve people like Adrian. So over the smallest minute thing that doesn't even make sense, that's not even wrong at all, why? Like, this man definitely belongs back. I'm still getting his emails. Are you guys all still getting his emails? He's still navigating everything. He's still taking care of all the scheduling, all the structure, the tournament emails. We get his emails once or twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. Who else is doing it? It's him still. Like, he's the best. You guys made a mistake, and you should correct it, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Next up, we have Kimberly Hathaway.
Hi, my name's Kimberly Hathaway. I'm sure a lot
Could you
of
please state your address too?
620 Moonflower Avenue. So I know many of you know my family in the community. We all had a positive influence, but this one is very personal to me. My son is in wrestling. He has struggled a lot over the years with trauma, PTSD, anxiety. He's on the spectrum, ADHD. He got involved in Exeter wrestling, and Adrian brought that spark back in him, motivating him. He started doing better in school. He brought his grades up, and he's been better behavior. He's actually wrestling his first match tomorrow because he finally got the courage to overcome those humps. And Adrian had him under his wing, and I see the news on Adrian. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's got to be something really bad. And I realize it's a meaningless picture between a student and a parent, where the approval was by the student and parent. And I'm not sure, is there any, rules or regulation? Like, could we have given him a warning? Because as soon as my son found out, he came home in tears because you're taking the coach away that motivated him to get through everything. And I don't want him to regress because you're taking a good coach that has got him back on track again. And I just don't think it's not only not fair to my son, but it's not fair to the other wrestlers. They're all highly upset. It's not fair to the wrestling parents. I mean, I feel like, he's needed for the community. If we don't have him, this wrestling community is going to fail. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come up and speak?
I didn't sign up, though.
You may come up. Just
I'm Tammy Thrower, and I'm at 4688 Pheasant Run. I've got 4 kids in the district. We've been here 8 years, and I can say hands down, that is one of the most influential men that I've seen. I've got 2 kids in the elementary school. Both of them, one of them's not shy at all. The other one's very shy. The one that's not shy said she wanted to come up and speak for him too. That's why I invited her up. But the one that is shy, that's ducking down right now, probably doesn't want me to mention him. He runs up to him, and that doesn't happen very often. So it's very upsetting that he's leaving. I don't think he wants to leave. I know you can't force someone, or what, however you describe that. We understand that, that's common sense. But when someone feels like they're being forced to leave, something's very wrong. And I didn't do sports, I didn't do wrestling, but I did 12 years in the Army, and I can say basic training. If I could send all my kids to basic training, I would. But I would send them to the wrestling, but not the way it is right now. I would send it with Adrian there, I would send them in there, but not the way it is now. And I think that is a man that puts his heart and soul into everyone, and this means something to him, and to see him let go, because you did let him go, I think that you can admit that, maybe not forced him, but did let him go. And to have you guys ask him to come back, I think would be amazing for the district, amazing for the department, and amazing for our kids. And they need him. They need someone like that. In every school district needs people like that. Is she allowed to say anything?
I think that he should have been forgiven for what he done. He has done a mistake, and I think he's done a mistake, so I think he should be able to learn from his mistake and not do it again, and get a second chance for what he has done. And he goes to my he does a custodian in my school, and every time I have lunch, I look forward to seeing him. We always did something fun, like we did staring contest, and he always made it super fun at lunch, and all the things that we could do. So I think he should be able to have a second chance here.
thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and speak?
I'm Olivia Miller. Didn't you see my address? Yeah, Olivia Miller.
And your address, please.
358 Montgomery Avenue. Do I start? Okay, I have been wrestling for 10 years, and out of all of the coaches I've had, Adrian has been the best. I've had such amazing coaches, but he was the only coach that was ever actually there for me and cared about me more than the sport. He wants me to succeed, and if my future doesn't include wrestling, he's the only coach that has ever made sure that I know wrestling is not the only thing I have to do. He has helped me with homework when I struggle with grades. He has always been there. He has helped me when I have had panic attacks and anxiety. He is the best coach I've ever had, and I think he at least deserves an apology because he's an amazing person, an amazing coach, and he has not just helped me, the junior high boys, but so many of the high school girls and so many of the high school boys. And he deserves a second chance or an apology because he is an amazing guy, and yeah.
Thank you, Olivia. Okay, we'll be moving the following items to the voting agenda. Okay, we have Education Committee, items B, C, and D. Personnel Committee, A, B, C, D, E, and F. And I believe we will go to second reading on the POW MIA flag policy. Yes. Okay. All right. Are there any board members who would like to be heard this time?
Mr. Schaefer, I would just like to just say a few words. I do want to thank the folks that came out tonight in support of somebody that obviously had a very positive influence as a coach. I completely can understand that. I especially commend the folks that spoke, especially for the bravery of the little girl and the students that came up to speak as well. It's not easy to stand up there at that podium, for sure, especially when all of us are just kind of staring at you and why you say your words. So I completely understand. Many years ago, I was in that position and on the other side of the table as well. All I can say is I apologize that this is the the outcome that we have here, but I think you've made your thoughts known. So I do appreciate you coming out.
Anyone else have anything? Okay. Our next meeting will be our voting meeting on Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 at 7 p.m. If there's no objections, we'll adjourn the meeting.